All right, so I'm here with Jeremy Ellis.
That's right, Iro.
My bad. I'm
It's all
Robert
good.
Pointer. I'm with the Propellerhead software here, and we are at NAMM 2007 in January.
Yes.
First, I want to just say thank you so much for coming out. It's a pleasure having you.
My goodness, man. It's
being
been a
here.
great joy.
I got to tell you, when James Bernard and I, we were at Detroit Electronic Music Festival. We were walking around here, a bunch of techno, love techno. There's no issues with that.
Sure, of course.
But we walked into this tent, and there you were, just banging and busting out the beats.
Freestyle!
We had to come over and check it out. So we said, okay, this guy's amazing. Using the MPC, got on the piano, and we walked around the side, and there you were, busting the roads, and there on the laptop was Reason. And it was we were stunned. So
yeah, man.
We're just happy that you found a place for the software. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you found it and Reason and why you decided again to use the software?
Well, like you were just saying, I mean, I was hardware based previously, and I like to carry my Rhodes around to the gig, and because I'm kind of a sound snob, and I found the Reason patches, not even the newest ones, which are way tighter, but it was a great replacement for having to carry my Rhodes, and I was drawn to it just purely from like a synthesizer keyboard standpoint.
Right.
And then once you guys hooked me up with it, and I got into Recycle, and I was dumping my beats onto my hard drive, and it was just like, the joy.
The joy. So just to give a little bit of background, because some people may not actually know who you are, and we're going to try to help change that. But
Cool.
But you started, playing, and I mean, you're a jazz background. How long have you been?
I come from an extremely musical family. Everyone's played piano for like 100 years. Everyone's music educators. So I grew up in that church music, band director, like musicals family, so I've always been on stage and that kind of stuff, and so took piano from a very early age and wasn't ever a good reader, but my main skill was learning everything by ear and just like hearing a song and just playing it. So that kind of carried over to my jazz studies and then eventually into funk and then the techno scene in Detroit obviously is massive, and the funk scene in Motown is massive, and so we were looking to take all the electronic elements and push them into a live format and push it, really like make a fusion and push the music to the future,
Our observation is you're sort of that perfect meld between what is electronic and the human interface of that electronics to make it almost a completely, how do you want to say it? Just a human artistic output without sequencing or.
That's one thing that I've really been noticing this weekend. There's all these amazing products around, and it's really like it comes down to the point where anybody can really make music at this point, but if you really want to make music, you still have to practice your scales, you got to practice your finger independence, musicians are going to make the best music in the end, I'd like to think.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about using Reason. Hopefully the viewers out there are watching the video of you just playing, so they get a sense about what's capable here. My question to you would be, using Reason, you're using the M Audio trigger finger, and I think I talked to you about this before. Let's talk about it again, which is the latency and all that. You've solved that issue, and
yeah, basically if you go to the audio preferences and switch it over to play a smaller amount of samples per second, then it's essentially gone.
And it's like butter, I think you said,
it's like
right?
butter. like butter.
Butter.
And of course, I mean, if you have a newer computer, then it's going to sound way better.
Right.
My computer's 2 years old, which is like 25 years old. You know what I mean? But it still runs it. It runs it perfectly, like butter.
Like butter. So do you have any? We like to always hit up the artists that we have out here, maybe some tricks or a workflow that you would recommend to maybe people out there that are trying to get their head around Reason, specifically in maybe the way you use it. Do you have some tips or tricks you might want to share?
I think one of the main tricks is one of the things I talked about during the session was just the way you arrange the pads is the number one most convenient thing I can think of. Just putting your bass drums in the same spot every time, put your snare drums in the same spot every time, hi-hats, toms, get yourself a standard arrangement. If my friend's left-handed, so he does everything reverse, but he still has it in the same set for every drum set. So every time you switch to another sound bank, you can even record a MIDI track and switch to another set of drums. The beat's still gonna play. You're not gonna it's not going to have the bass drum on the snare sound and this back and forth, you know.
Right. So you know, the thing with Reason and the rack and all that, you can customize it whatever way you want. What is a Jeremy
Iro
Ellis?
Irish Afro.
I'm trying. What does your rack look like? What does Jeremy's Reason rack look like?
For the most part, I mean, I love the combinators, but because I'm kind of I'm percussion based, I'm all about the NNXT. I just sample, fill up the samplers, and one of the limitations I found in hardware before is that I can only have like 24 megabytes of my sounds loaded in at one time.
Right.
You know, and in this format, I can have like 32 of my drum kits just sitting there, ready, waiting to go. And like I said, with the convenience and the setup, I try to get all my bass sounds and my other sounds into one folder, so I'm not like scrambling on the spot.
Right.
Only a small amount of scramble.
Right. So your sense of where things are going in the future, I mean, you've obviously blended an approach and a style to playing. I think everybody would be immensely interested to know kind of what you think in 5 or 10 years, where it's all headed, given where you're at today.
Wow.
Is that too heavy? Is that a heavy?
I don't know. No.
I can pull it back.
Well, you know, I mean, with the whole advent of like the iPhone type products and like the computer-based this and that, my dream is basically to have just this little tiny pad, maybe a little bit smaller one, and then you have your phone, computer, you know, beam me up, Scottier, and all that just packed into a little tiny bag. You sit in the airport, you know, rock
the elbow.
Rock the elbows.
That's great. So I'd like, maybe some people out there would like to know where maybe they can get some of your music or find out a little bit more about you.
Sure. Well, you can go to ubiquityrecords.com and find my last album. I'm putting out another single on Samurai Records in California, and various other labels and singles. If you just look up my name, Jeremy Ellis, you can always go to Jeremy Ellis Iro, that's AYRO, at MySpace / Jeremy Ellis Iro.
That's great. So again, thank you. We appreciate
pleasure.
you coming out. It's been
Definitely.
great. This is Jeremy Ellis, and we are at the Propellerhead booth.
Much love.